Hello everyone. So this is Ravi here, back again with the chess video, which I feel that you should be very instructive to look at an amateur level. So you can see the ratings of the players. They are all with just 2240 and 2163. So I'm showing you this game just to let you know what are the significance of the dark square bishop in a Sicilian game. If white loses the dark square bishop, then you can see from this game that white really lacks a plan. So let's watch the game without wasting any further time. E4, C5, knight F3, E6, this is a Sicilian Khan variation. Bishop E2, a very subtle variation, not going for the open lines with D4. Okay, A6, C3, Queen C7. Castle, the king side, knight F6. Okay, so white reluctantly, he is afraid to push his pawn forward because I can understand from a psychological point of view, even though E5 at this point seems to be a right move, but if you see the guy's rating, he's 2163. So normally in chess, it happens that when you are playing with a guy of a higher level, with a higher chess ranking, so even though you sometimes feel that this is the right move, you are always skeptical in giving that move. So e5 may seem very much appropriate at this point, and it attacks the knight, but white really hesitates to move his pawn forward. D3 again, so you can see from his point of view, d4 is much more better, but he's playing d3 because he is afraid with my rating. Knight c6, bishop to g5. So at this point of time, I would like to give you an explanation. So if you see here, I have turned on the engine here, the stockfish. So ideally, it sees that bishop to e7 should be the most correct alternative. But I don't want to give bishop e7. Instead, I want to play a different kind of a variation where I want that white loses his dark square bishop, and I lure him ideally to take my knight on f6. So I don't give the bishop e7. I give a different move instead, b5. So I am invoking him, I am luring him to take my knight on f6. So he pauses here for a second. He pauses here for a moment. He doesn't take my knight instantly. He gives knight bt2. So h6, I am forcing him to do the exchange and to give up his bishop. But he doesn't do that. Bishop to h4, bishop to b7, d4, d5, and then he takes it. Bishop takes f6. I take with g takes f6. So in return of this particular pawn structure formation, I get what? An open file, that is the G file, where I see that white is already castled, and I have my dark square bishop where white doesn't have his dark square bishop any further. Okay, so white wants to play on the E file, so he exchanges a pair of pawns, and I'm very much aware of that. So he gives rook to E1. So I do a queenside castling. And once white sees that my king is on the queen side, he tries to open the A file where his rook is already placed. I allow him. Okay, so even though if you see here at this particular position, if you see white has the open A file, but he cannot just penetrate on the queen side at one go. So if you see here the squares A8 and then A7 and A6 and A5 and A4, so they are all being captured by the black pieces. So white cannot penetrate immediately. So there is no attack right now from white side. While meanwhile, black doesn't, though it looks that black doesn't has a very crumbling pawn structure, and black's king doesn't look that much safe. But I can assure you, when the game progresses, you would see that the black has more plans and white doesn't have a good plan. So if you see the stockfish evaluation is plus 3.2, but I can show you that white really lacks a plan here. Okay. B3 white tries to open lines further. rook g8, b takes c5, sorry, c4, and d takes c4. Now, why I took with the d pawn? Because I want this bishop on b7 to point at the white king. That's the reason I took with the d pawn. Okay, my d pawn was obstructing my b7, this bishop. Okay, g3. So white senses the danger and he plays g3 so that I will, like bite this g3 pawn, which is supported by the pawn on h2 and f2. Okay, very prophylactic move for king to b8. Though it seems that the king may be very much vulnerable, but you would see that the king is absolutely safe. The black king is absolutely safe here. Queen to b1. Okay, queen to b1, it attacks the b5 pawn. And if you see all my pieces, they are not in that very good shape to, to prevent this b5 pawn, except this rook. This rook comes on d5. Now this d5 rook, it protects the b5 pawn, and this becomes a very much centralizing rook. You will see in the game. This d5 rook cannot be, like dislodged at once. So if you see here, the bishop is on e2, the knights are on f3 and d2, and this rook, king, and queen, they will not be able to dislodge the rook from d5. Okay, so the knight comes on e4 and it tries to attack the pawn on f6. I give a very the move, a defending move with my bishop. It's both an attacking and a defending move. You will see bishop to e7. Okay, queen to a2. I don't know why this move was even given by my opponent, who is a 2-1-6-3, because queen to a2 doesn't do anything. If you see, the queen cannot come here on this a8 square, neither the a7 square. So this a7 square is there for the knight is there to protect this a7 square. a6 and a8 are being protected by the bishop, and a5 has got no chance because the knight is there, the queen is also there, a4 and the a3 also. So if you see here, though the rook and the queen, it occupies this file, but from a3 to a8, all my squares are being, they are, safe. Okay, now f5. Now this f5 gains tempo on this knight. If you see, the knight doesn't have a good square to go except for the backwards. If the knight comes on c5, then my bishop can take this knight and white's attack would freeze immediately. Knight goes back, and then I start pushing my pawns. Pawn to h4, sorry, h5. Okay, this king move, I would say that I don't know whether this move was really required from king to g1 to f1, because white king is absolutely safe there. So if you see right now, the formation, the evaluation of the board is plus 1.4. Earlier it was plus 4.2. After giving this king move, it reduces. So white still, though it is, the computer shows that it is better, but I really doubt that white is better from a human perspective. Okay. h4, I want this white knight to take my pawn so that I can get the g5 for the attack. But white doesn't do it. King to c2, sorry, queen to c2. Queen to c2 doesn't do anything. If you see, has no attack. White doesn't have any attack. Okay, I take it. Okay, white also takes it, and now I give queen to d6. Now why queen to d6? Because I want my queen to come on the h file. So queen to d6 immediately tries to put the queen on the next square, that is the h6. The queen can jump to h6 at one go. So if you still see here, white doesn't have anything to do. If you see, the evaluation is plus 0.8 right now. So white desperately tries to do something. It attacks my pawn on the c4, bishop takes c4, b takes c4, knight takes c4. It attacks but this particular move here, the knight comes to c4, but the knight doesn't have any good prospects. The knight doesn't attack anything. So it attacks the queen, but if you know my plan is to come, not to keep the queen on d6. My plan is to put the queen on coming to the h file. So I go to the h file at once, because I can see here, I can give a check to the king from h3 or from h1. I can, and I can free this bishop from this place from e7, and I can put a rook there. So I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of attacks. And at any moment, this particular bishop would be unleashed from b7. And if it gets unleashed, then entire diagonal, this ah to h1, this diagonal would be free for me. Okay. Now, uh, white tries to do something. It tries to come forward. But right now, if you see, the evaluation is minus 8.1. I'm already winning. Black is at this point of time already winning. I take with the rook because I know that I will definitely win this game. From here on, I can see that the white's king is very much vulnerable. My bishops are very much open. If you see the board here, the white's rooks and the queen is just too backward, and my rook, my queen, my bishops, and they are very much, like inside the like white's territory. Knight takes and knight takes. So right now, if you see here, evaluation is minus 7.5. And it shows that the queen should be taking this one instead of taking the knight, but my opponent takes the knight, and I give a check here. So if you see, the evaluation is going to minus 61 at this point of time. Okay, king to e2, queen to f3 check, king to d2, and bishop to g5 check, and rook to e3 to stop the check, and rook takes and queen takes f2. This is more than enough. And here, I think my opponent resigned. And these are the moves which are just to show the next further continuations. Nothing to do. Everything is just a normal game. So you can see the power of the dark square bishop. How if white loses the dark square bishop in the Sicilian, it can be very much detrimental for white. So in Sicilian, it is always advisable not to lose the dark square bishop without any good reason. I hope you like this video. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.